this video talking about controlled writing. In this video, we're going to have a quick look at what exactly is controlled writing and also why we do it. So to get started, I'm going to ask you a question. When writers are learning to write in a second or third or fourth or essentially an additional language, what is it that they need most? If you said language support, you're absolutely right. Students that are learning to write in another language need to start with explicit models. They need the teacher to show them exactly what the writing outcome should look like. They need to do this in order to practice grammar, to practice vocabulary, and especially the overall structure and organization of a text. They also need functional language. So when the teacher provides expressions and chunks of language, it will really help the students learn how to write. So key expressions. And finally, vocabulary. At this stage in the early writing process, when they're beginning to learn to write, students really don't have the vocabulary to express ideas yet. So they need help in the form of vocabulary word banks. And this is what has formed the basis of the Framework for Evaluation of Learning, so part of the Quebec Education Program, the QEP. In Competency 3, we're talking about writing texts, right? This is taken directly from cycle 2 and 3 in elementary, so grade 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if we have a look here, we can see that we're working on grammar and spelling, so application of targeted language conventions, but really this is essentially from provided models and available resources. So controlled writing is an excellent way to provide students with models and help get them started on their way as they're writing. Okay, so let's have a look again. What is controlled writing? Well, I think the best way might be to show you an example of a controlled writing exercise. So here's one that gets the students to practice a, an, or the. And it's a short text about a family living in a small house with pets and things. Okay, so as you can see here, most of the text is already provided, or written, or modeled. Okay, all the student has to do is adjust or fill in or choose a small amount of the text. The only thing here they have to focus on is a, an, or the. Okay, this usually a focus on a particular language structure, as you can see here. And once they've finished writing the an, or the in the blanks, they should write the whole text out again on their own. So it should look like this. My family lives in a small house in a town by the Hudson River. Why do they need to do this? Well, especially if they're learning a new structure, it's a great way of understanding how the structure fits in with the whole syntax of the sentence. So how does this small piece of the puzzle fit into the larger image? Okay. The other part is that the more often that students write out models of text themselves, the better sense they'll get of the way that the language functions and different vocabulary. So it's a bit like practicing. It's an extra form of practice. It integrates the structure. So if that's what a controlled writing exercise looks like, you can probably find lots of examples of what you want online. But if you want to make your own, this is how you would go about it. There are a few key steps. So step 1 is to write a short text yourself. So just write out the kind of text you want your students to see. And step 2 would be to select the language focus. Hopefully you've kept this in mind as you were writing. So for example, adjectives or vocabulary. If you want to give students more support, you're going to give them options. And I'll show you how this works in a second. If you want to give them a little bit less support, you can remove the language focus. So you can create kind of like a fill in the blank. Step 3 will be to model an example with the class. This is the we do stage, from the I do, we do, you do. And step 4 will be to ask the students to do it on their own, the you do. And step 5, remember to ask the students to copy out the whole text. So let's do this together as an example. Let's say that I'm working with my grade 4 class on food, and I want them to write a short text on pizza because they all love pizza. So our grammar focus in this unit is adjectives. We've been working on like shape and size and smell and temperature, that kind of thing. The vocabulary focus for the whole unit is ingredients and kinds of food. Okay, so my first step, of course, is to write the short model text. So I would do something like this. I love pizza. Pizza is a delicious food. The best pizza has cheese, comma, tomatoes, comma, olives, and garlic. I like pizza when it is hot, you know, so we've worked a few of those things together. Okay. Now, the next thing is to remind myself what the language focus was. So I can either select that language focus and provide options to circle, or I can remove the language focus. In other words, create a fill in the blank. I'm going to show you both. So let's start with the first one. Okay, I've highlighted these are my language focus: delicious, best, cheese, tomatoes, olives, and hot. Those are the things I want the students to focus on. Those are all adjectives and ingredients. So in the first option, I'm going to give the students extra options that they can circle. So I've given them a choice here. Originally I said delicious, but I could have said nutritious, I could have said healthy, I could have said tasty. I originally wrote best, but I could have written the worst just for fun. I had written cheese, tomatoes, olives, and garlic, but I could brainstorm with the class all different kinds of things that they might see on a pizza. We can make a list here. And finally, I said I like pizza when it's hot, but I know lots of people like it when it's cold, so I can give them the choice here. Okay, so I would then, right, providing more options to circle, I now have to do the example with the class. So I would say to the kids, okay, here's our text together. I'm going to give this as a handout. Let's choose. Okay, pizza is delicious food. That's what I chose. What would you guys like to choose? Do you want to say it's the best pizza or the worst pizza? Okay, the best pizza. What does the best pizza have on it? Sauce. Okay. What else do you want to put on? Bacon. Nice. Anything else? Olives. Okay, so we've chosen sauce, olives, and bacon. Do we like pizza when it's hot or cold? Okay, we like it when it's hot. All right. So we've done an example together as a class. Now you see, if the students do this, they end up with something on their own that's not exactly as the model, but it does follow the model pretty closely. So they would end up with something like this. Pizza is nutritious food. The best pizza has sauce, olives. I would explain we needed an and bacon. I like pizza when it is hot. Now, that was what I could have done by giving them options. If I wanted to push them a little harder, I could give them some extra challenge, right? Instead of, so this, we start again with our model, but this time I'm going to do a close. So I'm going to create blank spaces to replace the key language. This is a little harder because they don't have options to choose from. So it would look something like this, right? I love pizza. Pizza is a blank food. The blank pizza has blank, blank, and blank. I like pizza when it is blank. Okay, so they, again, they would have to do, all they have to do is fill in the blank with things that are language focused. So either an adjective or an ingredient, but they can end up with their own with less support. Okay, so just to recap again, there are 5 steps. Write a short model text yourself. Figure out what the language focus is, and you can either provide options for the students to circle if you want to give more support, or you can remove the language focus elements as a close or fill in the blank. You're going to model an example with the class and then ask students to do it on their own. And most importantly, ask the students to copy out the whole text at the end. Now you can have a lot of fun with this. If any of you have ever worked with something called Libs, they encourage kids to have fun and learn how to write and read at the same time with sort of silly adjectives. So typically what they'll do is they'll say, think about 4 adjectives, think about a nationality, think about the name of a person, 3 different nouns, some plural nouns, and a number, and they'll get you to fill in the blanks. So it becomes pretty silly. For example, pizza was invented by a hot American named Yusuf. To make a pizza, you need to take a lump of hair and make a thin, round, spicy hat, etc. You see how this goes. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so just to recap, Controlled writing is a form of scaffolding for writing. The teacher will provide models and really functional language and lots of practice together. So the teacher starts by writing a model for the students using a language focus. And if you